Or hey everyone, it's Qasim Rashid. Amazing last minute sub in. I think Francesca Fiorentini forgot about me. She was supposed to be on, or maybe she's alive, or maybe she's doing something with her kiddo. All good. Qasim stepped in last second because I had to talk about the Democrats because there's so much
Yeah.
news about the Democrats, and I really, really enjoy now pissing off the Blue Anon cult members who come after me on Blue Sky. And Qasim, what I said yesterday. I did a piece on the autopsy. I'm like, bring it. Because I believe I'm
Yes.
with the majority. I believe I have my finger on the pulse. I've traveled the nation. I feel confident. When you and me are wrong, we admit we're wrong. But I believe a lot of the experts are wrong. I think a lot of the corporate donors are wrong. I think a lot of the consultants are wrong. And I think a lot of these people come out on Twitter and Blue Sky and say stupid shit like, we told you so, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. This type of whining, me and Qasim and I, we told everyone, you vote for Clinton, vote for Biden, vote for Harris. It didn't work, folks.
Yep.
Do you see it? You sitting there saying, vote for Democrat no matter what, or else this won't work. So you go ahead and be a Blue Anon cult member. You're in the minority because the favorability of the Democrats is below Donald Trump, who is historically low. I want to start off with that before I give you a whole bunch of items. But Qasim, your retort.
Dude, you nailed it. And everything we're seeing right now, I was talking to Randy Vegas right now, who's running in California's 22nd district out west. He's just, his race is a perfect encapsulation of everything you're talking about. And I think one of the best examples of that is we saw how adamantly the entire party got behind Prop 50 to say, hey, we got to fight back against this Trumpian gerrymandering fascism. We need to gerrymander California to protect democracy. Randy Vegas was at the forefront of making sure Prop 50 passed. His opponent was the only Democrat in the California state legislature who voted against Prop 50. And now the DCCC is getting behind his opponent over him in the run for U.S. Congress. It's just a perfect encapsulation of how the party elites just don't give a damn about the actual working class people that vote for the Democratic Party and will do whatever the corporate lobby, APAC lobby, she's being supported by DMFI want. And it's important that we call this out and not just rage against this injustice, but then offer actual solutions, right? Randy Vegas is somebody everybody in California 22 should vote for. Chris Rabb in Pennsylvania 3 ran against two corporate funded opponents. Cory Booker even came out the day before to campaign against him. And Chris
Shapiro.
Rabb and Shapiro went against him. Shapiro tried to undermine him. APAC tried to undermine him, but he stood with his principles, was unapologetic, and he won by like 16 points, double
Double
digits.
digit points.
And so when we rage against these establishment Dems and these corporate Dems, we're not just spitting into the wind to say go vote for Republicans. We're saying no. There is a better way. Here are the better people. They're people funded. They want universal health care. They want to end never ending wars. Vote for them and let's bring about real change. And we're seeing in examples like Zoran in New York of what's happened, what's possible when you actually do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always as I said yesterday when the autopsy came out, I'm trying to help you, Democrats.
Yes.
Help me help you, and
Yes.
not the other way around. I'm not trying to like burn it down. I told people to vote because all these people, what the Blue Nuns come out and say is, "Are you happy now that you didn't vote because of Gaza? Are you happy now?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Congratulations! You've been telling people
Yeah.
vote for me because I'm not Trump. Has it worked? Didn't work in 2016. Didn't work in 2024. Go ahead and mock and shame people instead of inspiring them. If you actually inspire them, they'll come out and vote. And as I said, Qasim, I told people to come out and vote. I said, vote for the lesser of two evils. A lot, but you know what? 18 million Democrats stayed home. And now, instead of learning from their lessons, we're gonna prove our point, folks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring in evidence. Autopsy. You saw the autopsy report. Autopsy
Disaster.
report came out yesterday, which was such a disaster. And because it was so poorly written, they decided not to release it. No mention of Gaza, no mention of Israel or the genocide. The YouGov poll that was done a few months after the election said the number one reason why, not the only reason, the number one reason why Democrats didn't come out was Gaza. This is a Gaza generation. It's not just Arabs and Muslims and Palestinians. The entire world has been radicalized. Poll came out yesterday in the New York Times. We're going to talk about that poll that says now a majority of Democrats clearly say that they're done with Israel and funding
Yep.
Israel, right? A majority of Americans are done with it, right?
Yep.
Zero mention of Gaza. And the Blue Anon folks said, "What? See, Gaza had nothing to do with the audit. Look at
Yeah.
the audit." Your response.
I thought about this yesterday. I'm pulling up my post that I made yesterday. I still call it a tweet because Twitter will forever live in my heart. I wrote, the DNC autopsy mentions Gaza or Palestine 0 times. This leaves only one of two possibilities. Option one, Gaza was so irrelevant that no one mentioned it, which means the centrists have zero reason to blame the left for allegedly causing Harris to lose because they wouldn't stop protesting genocide. That's the one option. Second option is DNC saw Gaza as such a catastrophic failure by Biden and Harris that they censored it from the report, meaning centrists should accept blame for causing Harris to lose because of their own silence on genocide. Take your pick. Those are the two options. Either it was irrelevant and you can't blame the left, or it was so relevant that you should accept blame yourself. There's no third option here. And the fact, and I posted this, and everyone was like, oh, well, I guess you just wanted Harris to lose. No, it's the exact opposite. I wanted her to win. That's why I wanted her to talk about it because I knew it was a big issue. Which, did you know? In fact, I think you did know this. We talked about this. 30 different polls during the 2024 cycle, all around the country, national polls, swing state polls, blue state polls, red state polls, 30 separate polls showed that on average, if Harris simply said, I'm going to stop funding this genocidal regime, that she would have seen a 6 to 8 point bump on average. It would have increased, and only for every 7 votes that she would have increased, only one person said that would make me less likely to vote for her. A 6 to 8 point bump if she had simply said this. A post election poll, multiple ones showed that Gaza was the number one, number two, or number three issue why people stayed home. Every piece of evidence shows that this was a critical issue, not because people are experts on Israel Palestine, because people are smart enough to recognize that, hey, if you're spending $40 billion bombing these people while my kid doesn't have enough to eat, while I have lunch debt, medical debt, there's a problem here and I don't like it. This is why this is such a universally, maligned issue where people just despise these never-ending wars. And for Ken Martin to put out a report after running on transparency, on regaining trust, that looks like my seventh grader did it without using spell check, is an insult so bad to the psyche of the Democratic Party base. He should resign, and there
Yep.
should be a leader there who actually has the integrity and the balls to stand up and do what's right.
And folks, it is connected. So much of it's connected to Israel, right? This is not just railing against Israel or APEC. I mean, just look at it. You had APEC spend a record-breaking amount of money to remove Thomas Massie. Now, how did Thomas
Yeah.
Massie break with Donald Trump? He broke on two major issues, which are also two major betrayals of Trump to his base. Number one, no more forever wars. Well, we're in an unwinnable war in Iran. Who led us in this war in Iran? Who helped dogwalk Donald Trump to do this stupid unwinnable war? Israel, right?
Yep.
Secondly, yeah, you look at Massey and he says, I want the release of the Epstein files. And Donald Trump said, I mentioned the Epstein files more than anyone else. Speak about Epstein, who worked with Epstein, who helped put the cameras in his New York apartment. Israel, who was all up in the Epstein files, who visited Epstein, the former prime minister of Israel. Ehud Barak, who Virginia Giuffre mentioned as one of her, Ellie says it's Ehud Barak, as one of her rapers, right? So Israel is just all up in American politics with AIPAC, with money. Biden joined Netanyahu in this genocide. Trump continued it, right? And then you see Hakeem Jeffries saying, I'll still take money from AIPAC, even though I know they're funded by right wing billionaires to go after Democrats, folks. Thomas Massey, record breaking $30 million was spent mostly by AIPAC.
35 million.
Can you tell them the previous two record breaking House campaigns?
The one was definitely the Cory Bush and Wesley Bell. What was the other one?
Jamal Bowman.
Jamal Bowman. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and
Can you
yeah,
tell 'em, who spent the money?
George Latimer. Yeah, yeah. It was all APAC money. Yeah, that's right. I mean, this is insane that the three most record breaking elections out there are the Israeli lobby, APAC spending money to get people out for what purpose? For one, opposing genocide, and two, for opposing the Epstein files. I mean, you really need to look like take like a deep look in the mirror. Why are you supporting candidates or an organization that is legitimately spending absurd amounts of money on protecting pedophiles and protecting genocide? Like I can't think of a more morally bankrupt thing to do, but that's where we are, and that's why we need to just get away from corporate money altogether. There's no good corporate money to take. For me, at this point, it's if you're not people funded, you're corporate funded and corruptible, and I want nothing to do with you.
No, but we have to go centrist, and by the way, news just broke that Tulsi Gabbard has resigned as director of national intelligence,
Really? Wow.
folks. Fox News as of 4 minutes ago. She is resigning as DNI, citing her husband Abraham's diagnosis with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. If that is indeed true, we wish him a speedy recovery. At the same time, I'll have Lev Parnas probably on. He's been talking about this, that she was going to go. This probably gives her cover and context to do something that she wanted to do. Because I think she was also apparently on the outs when it came to this war with Iran. But let's see. We'll find out more. Goodbye, Tulsi Gabbard. Goodbye, Pam Bondi. And goodbye, Chrissy Noem. Have you noticed all the women have left, Qasim?
I that's a really, really good point, and I think I just wanna point out here, you've got, am I frozen? Because I can see you just fine, but if I'm
You
frozen,
are frozen, but we can hear you.
I'll keep talking. I just wanna point out here that you've got a person who is working for a president who's made it his life mission to deny healthcare to hundreds of millions of people, and, now, because her husband has a horrible illness that I wish him a speedy recovery from, she gets to benefit from universal healthcare while working for a man who denied healthcare to tens of millions of people. This is why I have no empathy for people like Tulsi, because, the cruelty is a point with folks like them, and it's important to call out that hypocrisy for what it is. Ujjwal, I got to go in a few minutes. I'm getting a lot of folks in the comments asking about this Michigan Senate race. We should
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah.
that
So I
for a
was
second
gonna
too.
go there. Do you have 9 minutes, or
I
do you
do.
have?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I got 9 minutes. Yeah.
So speaking about how this is all connected, right? And people think we're crazy. Let's just. I've been talking about this. I'm using a prime example. We could have talked about Mamdani 6 months ago, but I've been telling people to look exactly what the centrists have done very deliberately with a well-funded campaign against Abdul El-Sayed, and break it down for us.
Well, this is kind of the oldest, most racist playbook in the country. Rather than running on the principles and values that she talked about, and by the way, I write in my article that I've actually long admired Mallory McMorrow, and I pull out the receipts of articles I wrote years ago, complimenting her, praising her for the work that she's doing to uphold democracy, to fight fascism, to fight Project 2025. So I'm not like just some hater that woke up yesterday and chose violence. Like I have long admired her as an example of what is right with the party and why we need to elevate more folks like her. Which is why I'm so incredibly disappointed to see this path that she's taken of aligning with, basically aligning with a racist strategy that does nothing but creates more fear and disinformation. It's the oldest trick in the book. Um, Rather than contrasting her policies, Abdul El-Sayed's, she put out a press release and did a coordinated campaign attacking him for not being a real doctor, claiming that he's not a physician, he's not a doctor, he's been lying about it the entire time. And the reason why that's so problematic is that not only is he a doctor, he graduated from medical school, he got his PhD from, I think, from Oxford in epidemiology. He's a doctor, uh, but his entire mantra from the get go was I did not go into practice because I realized that in this broken healthcare system, the best work I can do is actually going to come from changing policy. So he became a policymaker, an administrator, and in that work as a Wayne County health executive, he did some pretty amazing things. 30,000 free eyeglasses for low income children, canceled 700 million in medical debt for 300,000 families. I mean, this is the kind of systemic change we need. And the reason why I call this a racist attack is
Mhm.
because you can document a straight line throughout even recent American history. Anytime a black or brown person or a Muslim or someone perceived as Muslim moved ahead, there were attacks. The Obama birtherism movement, that he's a Muslim born in Kenya, was a racist attack. The attack on Ilhan Omar, that she committed immigration fraud and, God forbid, married her brother, was a racist attack. Zoran Mamdani, when they saw he was going to win, they said, "No, he committed immigration fraud. We have to, we can't. He can't be the mayor." Oh, we can't prove that. Okay, we're going to pass legislation. So legislation was introduced stripping him of his citizenship, specifically him. This is the oldest trick in the book. And if you want to go further back, why is there a bar exam? Because women and black and brown people started becoming lawyers, and the rich white elite said, no, we don't want women or black and brown people. So we're going to add another barrier to exclude them from becoming lawyers as well. And so for McMorrow to dive into this, and the last point I'll make about this that I think is even more troubling, for McMahon to fall into this trap, I think is a betrayal of the Democratic Party's values of the black and brown voters that need to support her for her to win. But if you look at who is advising her, it's a woman named Liz Smith, who is
Yes.
funded by a dark money pack organization. This was a detailed analysis already done by Jacobin. But to go even further, she previously worked for Alyssa Slotkin, and
Yep.
before that worked for one Andrew Cuomo, who hired her to attack and smear the women accusing him of sexual assault. This is the person leading Melody McMorrow's comm strategy. I think to me that is absolutely disqualifying, has no place in our politics today.
Well, and to bring it full circle, it's the centrist policy. This is
Yes.
what they say. These are all Alyssa Slotkin, moderate. What did she say last year? We have to not be woke. Liz Smith with Chris Cuomo, he's too leftist. All the racist attacks against Mamdani, the attacks against Chris Rabb, the attacks against the Squad, the attacks against Abdul El-Sayed. Why? Because there's two things they share in common. Well, many of them are people of color, but the other two things, they're against billionaires, they're against Israel's genocide. Let me repeat this. They're against billionaires, they're against Israel's genocide. So they're painted as what? Radical leftists. And so instead, you have the centrists come out. But tell us what happened with Chris Rabb. Did he lose or did he win?
Chris Rabb is someone that I've had a chance to work with for a while now, and when we started chatting, we talked about the fact that he was getting hit hard by these corporate elites, and he was not given much of a chance to win. He ran such a phenomenal campaign, grassroots campaign, stayed people funded, did not resort into any kind of personal attacks or into gutter campaigning, rallied the base, and he won Wajahat by 16 points against two opponents. He won by 16 points against each of them. That to me is a living, breathing example that organized people beat organized money. It takes courageous people to do it. It takes people with conviction who have done the work on the ground. He's done the work for a long time, and it takes somebody who's not willing to bend and break their values when it gets tough. He did
So,
it the right way, and he won, and he's going to be a phenomenal addition to Congress.
so Mamdani won. Chris Rabb won by double digits. The Squad won, but they aren't real, right? They don't represent real America. Let's go to real America, white America, centrist, moderate, Michigan. Surely
I think I
this.
lost you, bud.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello. You can all hear me, right? Qasim. All right, Qasim, come back. I'm gonna get you
The
back.
internet does not like us today, my man.
Hold on one second, Qasim. Qasim is. Hold on. I'm gonna call him. Give me a second. I'm gonna get Qasim in the final 3 minutes. We're not gonna.
Can you
We're,
hear me?
we're not gonna go out like this. Oh, you're back. Can you hear me now? You're back.
Hey,
Hey, you're back. Now you're actually moving. Can you hear me? We can
I,
see
I
you finally.
I can see you, but I can't hear you. I can hear you on my phone, but can you hear me? Can everybody
Yeah.
hear me?
If you can hear me on my phone, fine. Let's do this that way. That's fine. All
Yeah,
right.
that works for me. Let's do it. Keep
Okay.
going.
Hold on one second, and I'm gonna take it off speaker.
No, I can't hear your phone either.
Now you can hear me, right?
Huh?
Now you can
Yeah,
hear
I
me.
can hear you.
All right,
I
here we
can.
go.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
wonderful. Look at this, folks. I've become a technician. What I was saying, and you got what I was saying was surely Abdul El-Sayed, this flaming leftist Muslim uh, progressive, surely he must be losing.
There we
So
go.
to our point, because we're trying to prove our thesis, because this New York Times poll came out real quick, and I'm speaking quickly because Qasim's got to go to Jumma. We got to go to Jumma, so I'm gonna let him go. But this New York Times poll came out and said the following: Dem voters on how their party should shift in order to win the 2028 presidential election. 52% say center, they never define it. 25% say left. Crime, 50% say center. Immigration, 46% say center. Healthcare, 45% say left. Economy, 42% say center. Transgender issues, literally, transgender issues, 38%. I called it out as bullshit, and this is
Yeah.
what I said. If Democrats go to the center, whatever that bullshit means on these issues, someone please define it for me. I guarantee you that this party will be done in 4 years.
Yep.
They might win in 2026 and 2028 because Trump is so bad, but there's such rage and anger at the institution and establishment. That's my take. And I give you the example of Chris Rabb, Mamdani, and Abdul El-Sayed. Please tell me how the centrist McMorrow is doing versus this flaming leftist jihadi, Abdul El-Sayed.
Yeah, well, her and Haley Stevens are both down 10 and 11 points, respectively, against Abdul El-Sayed. And I think this is the point that I want folks to understand here is that what they define as left, as far left, is making sure that if, God forbid, you get cancer, that you can get healthcare without going bankrupt. It's healthcare as a human right. It's making sure that you have an actual living wage of minimum $25 an hour as corporations are making billions. We have the worst wealth and income inequality now than even before the Great Depression. Is talking about ensuring that we have meaningful climate justice. And a report which I had just came out that New Orleans is going to be between 10 to 20 feet underwater before the end of the century, and people should evacuate New Orleans right now. What does that say about other coastal cities, especially on the East Coast? So, what they define as left is saying, hey, there is not a lack of resources, there's just an excess of greed. Stop with the scarcity mindset and start recognizing that we have to ensure people have basic access to healthcare and food. I mean, the fact that 1 in 9 children are food insecure in this country right now should be offensive to every person out there. The fact that lunch debt exists should be offensive to every person out there. So don't buy into this mantra of left versus right versus center. I think it's a bunch of crap. Look at one basic thing: the billionaire class and everyone else. Because the fact of the matter remains, every one of us is far closer to being homeless and bankrupt with nothing on our backs than we will ever be to becoming a billionaire. Let's have some class solidarity with our neighbors who are black, white, red, yellow, brown. I don't care what color they are. I don't care what their background is, what faith there is. If you're a human being, we need to recognize that humanity. That's the only way we're going to move forward.
And real quick, I know you got to go. I want to ask you one last thing, but I give you 2016. There was no way that Trump would win. There was no way. Look at
Yeah,
the polls. There was no 2024. Look at the
right.
polls. Look at the polls. Look at the polls. You saw
Yep,
what happened. The
that's right.
second thing I'll say is people are malleable. They're being radicalized in real time. People are being radicalized in faster than I've ever seen before. Look at on
Yep,
majority want to abolish ICE. Look at on the Iran war. Look at on AI. Look at Trump's own base with the gas prices. Just like that. I'm talking about in 2 months, people are being radicalized and polls are shifting in ways that Qasim and I never would have
yeah,
imagined.
that's right.
Speaking about the centrists, let me tell you what the centrists did. This was a big piece of news that came out yesterday that just got buried. These 8 centrists voted to pass a national ban on trans teachers and mention of LGBTQ topics. Henry Cuellar, Don Davis, Cleo Fields, Laura Gillen, Vincente Gonzalez, Marcy Kaptur, Marie Glusenkamp
Yeah,
Perez,
just
and
terrible.
Jean Vindman. With centrists like these, we need more centrists, don't we,
Yeah.
Casa?
You know, I didn't realize Eugene Vindman voted for that as well, and this is another example. His brother, Alexander Vindman, is running for US Senate in Florida. He moved down there to run. Florida has an amazing young black woman, Angie Nixon, who Wajahat, you gotta have on your show as well,
I love
running, she's a state, rep. She, spoke out against the genocide. She wants universal health care. She got arrested on the House floor for opposing the racist gerrymandering. She is running a phenomenal campaign, and rather than recognize that this is what the moment calls for, the party sent Alexander Vindman down there, who, by the way, I've uncovered audio of him saying the most grotesquely racist anti-Muslim comments. I have an article coming out that pretty soon as well. But
it.
this is what they're throwing in our faces and saying, take it or leave it. It's insanely stupid. We can't tolerate it any longer.
And then last one, I've been warning about Spanberger because I'm in Virginia. I give
Yes.
credit where credit's due. I said Spanberger was seeing where the wind was blowing. I'm like, she won by double digits in Virginia. I'm like, good for her, especially her stand against ICE, trying to protect transgender kids. But then I was always wary because Spanberger ran as a Gossam centrist,
Yep.
center left. You left, you don't go too progressive, don't do progressive, be white, be centrist, CIA, centrist, be centrist. Spanberger has not fought for our votes and our election as a Supreme Court here. The Virginia Supreme Court literally eliminated an election.
Yep.
She vetoed a bill to restrict ICE agents at courthouses, schools, and hospitals.
Yep.
She killed a proposal this Tuesday that would have created a Virginia Prescription Drug Affordability Board, shelving a years-long bipartisan effort aimed at lowering prescription drug costs
Yep.
through state oversight. And then she vetoed a collective bargaining bill passed by General Assembly. Gossip. Final
Uh,
word, please.
Unfortunately, all of that was predictable for anyone who's known her for as long as I've known her for almost a decade. None of this surprises me. Unfortunately, it's really tragic. It's painful to see. Her reasoning to veto the ICE legislation is the most nonsensical gobbledygook I've ever heard. And it's like offensive. And the fact that anyone's believing it tells me that they're putting on blinders. Just to kind of illustrate her logic on this, she said, "I have to veto this bill because it's going to put people in Virginia in a difficult situation of whether they enforce state law and federal law, and therefore I don't want to put them in the situation." This is a lie. She's either lying or she's ignorant or she hopes that we don't understand what's happening here. What the bill actually said is that on state property, on actual state property, Virginia has full domain over it, right? We've heard state rights a million times. This is an example on state owned property. And therefore, as the state of Commonwealth of Virginia, we will not allow federal officers to come in to arrest people unless they have a judicial warrant. So it was not superseding federal law. It was not denying federal law. It was not blocking ICE agents illegally. It was saying, hey, your memos say quite clearly that you are not arresting people with judicial warrants. And we know from your own data that up to 97% of the people you're arresting have no criminal record whatsoever. We think that's a bunch of crap. You don't uphold the federal constitution, we will. So until and unless you have an actual judicial warrant, you cannot enter our property. And she said, "No, that's going to create a conflict." There's no conflict at all. And she vetoed it. And then she did something even more asinine. And this part really pisses me off. Then she goes, "But hey, I gave you an executive order that will protect you." It's useless. It's meaningless. One, because if her logic on the alleged conflict is true for a state law, it's true here as well. And two, an executive order can be repealed with a swipe of a pen by the next governor. An actual piece of legislation cannot be removed so easily. So her entire logic here is I'm running to protect all people, and the first chance she gets, she throws immigrants under the bus is infuriating. And I'll close at this point. There's a reason, a very profound reason. If you have not read Dr. King's letter from a Birmingham jail, please go reread that and then
We
read it
talk about
again
it all the time, but go
all the
keep
time.
going.
There is a reason why he doesn't just condemn the KKK. He condemns one group even more than the KKK. He says the greatest stumbling block is not the KKK or the White Citizens Counselor. It's who? It's the white moderate. He calls the white moderate worse than the KKK, and that's what the Fettermans and the Cinemas and the Spanbergers of the world are showing us. We are actually in danger right now because we have a fascist in the White House who is undermining the Constitution. And she has the trifecta. She has the House. She has a Senate. She has the Attorney General. She has a Lieutenant Governor. And she's a Democrat. And rather than wielding that power to actually protect people, she's waxing eloquent and vetoing the very legislation that we need at this critical time. It is an outrage. It is shameful. And it is a perfectly good example of why we cannot keep voting for centrists. We need to vote with people with an actual spine, with the moral courage, with the confidence to know that this is what the people want. This is what the morally right, legally right thing to do is, and actually protect our rights, not undermine them.
That was fantastic, folks. Look at the centrists. They'll crush anyone who wants to oppose a genocide. They'll favor billionaires over unions. They'll be perfectly fine with ICE. They refuse to abolish ICE, and they don't want reform of the Supreme Court or any massive reforms
Yep,
that actually gives equity and a voice to the people. With centrists like these, who needs MAGA?
that's right.
Complicit. They're collaborators. I'm done with them. If you're a centrist, I ain't for you. And if this is what centrist is going to bring me, that you're going to throw transgender kids under the bus, that you're going to throw immigrant communities under the bus, that you're going to throw workers under the bus, then F you, centrist. I don't need you. You're a collaborator. I'm going to call you a collaborator to the face. And I think if Democrats go centrist, you will not only lose, the party will be done. I think there'll be a new party that will emerge. Qasim, final word to you and shamelessly promote yourself.
There's a reason why there's a phrase that says the hottest places in hell is reserved for those who are neutral at times of great moral crisis. That's what centrism is today. We have no need for it. Thank you all, man. I appreciate you all for the support. I included go to sway.co. It's a free app where you can see voter guides that we are pushing out there, and it's going to allow us to organize more effectively. And yeah, subscribe to my Substack, Less Addresses with Qasim Rashid. Put out daily human rights content, no paywall. Send some money. It will give you no special access to me because I'm pretty accessible anyway. But if you want to support a human rights lawyer doing good work as best you can to create a better world for all of our kids, then check us out.
And I just posted Cosim's fantastic piece in the McMorrow, which is a great encapsulation, a microcosm of our entire conversation for the past 30 minutes. It brings proof and data and specifics as to why this centrism is a disease. Qasim, I'll let you run, man. Thank you. Juma
Peace out,
Mubarak.
guys.